Nobody gives you respect because you asked for it. Let that sit for a moment. Think about every time you tried to explain yourself. Every time you told someone how you should be treated. Every time you said, with frustration in your voice, I deserve more respect than this. Think about how it felt. And then think about whether it worked. Whether saying those words actually changed anything. It didn't. It never does. And deep down, you already knew that. There is something most people refuse to accept. Something uncomfortable. Something that requires a level of honesty most people are not ready for. The truth is this: respect is not a conversation. It is not a negotiation. It is not something you can explain your way into. Respect is a feeling. It is something that rises in another person, silently, without being asked. It is something they feel when they are around you. When they watch you, when they observe how you move through your life. And either it is there, or it is not. But here's what you must understand. You are the reason it is or it isn't. The world is filled with people who want respect. Deeply, genuinely. They want to be taken seriously. They want to be valued. They want people to listen when they speak. They want others to recognize their worth. And there's nothing wrong with that. That desire is human. That desire is natural. But what those same people do with that desire, that is where everything goes wrong. They ask for it, they demand it, they announce it, they remind people of it. They explain, at length, in great detail, all the reasons they should be respected. They say things like, "Do you know who I am?" Or "I've worked hard for this," or "I deserve to be treated better than this." And in the moment they say these things, they believe they are being strong. They believe they are standing up for themselves. But the truth is the opposite. The moment you have to explain why you deserve respect, you have already lost it. Because people do not give respect based on what you say. They give it based on what they feel. And what they feel comes from what they observe. Here is something that will change the way you see every relationship, every room you walk into, and every interaction you have. People are always watching, not because they are judging you, but because the human mind is designed to read patterns, to assess behavior over time, to determine, without thinking about it consciously, whether a person is someone who can be trusted, taken seriously, and genuinely respected. And they are doing this constantly. Quietly, without telling you, without ever sharing their conclusions. They are not listening to your words. They are watching your patterns. They are watching how you respond when things don't go your way. They are watching how you treat people when you think no one important is around. They are watching whether you keep your word, whether you follow through. Whether you show up when it's difficult, whether you stay calm when you're under pressure, whether you crumble or whether you hold. And based on all of that, all of it, they form a feeling, a quiet, deep, internal feeling about who you are. And that feeling is what respect actually is. You cannot manufacture it. You cannot rush it. You cannot demand it into existence. You can only earn it, slowly, consistently. Through behavior, through action, through who you choose to be when it costs you something. Now, this is where the conversation becomes personal. Because the question is not whether respect matters to you. Of course it does. The question is, what are you actually doing that is either building it or destroying it? Most people, if they are honest, are doing things every day that quietly cost them respect. Not dramatically, not in obvious ways, but in small, consistent ways that add up over time and create a very specific impression in the minds of the people around them. Think about this honestly. Do you over-explain yourself? When someone questions your decision, do you immediately launch into a long justification? Because that is the behavior of someone who does not fully believe in themselves. Secure people do not need to over-explain. They act, they decide, and they are at peace with their decision, whether anyone else approves or not. Do you seek validation? Do you find yourself checking to see how others reacted to what you said or did? Do you need someone else to confirm that you are on the right path before you feel settled? Because that dependency is visible. people can feel it, and it tells them something important about where your confidence actually lives. It tells them that your confidence lives in their approval, and a person whose confidence lives in someone else's approval is a person who can be controlled. Do you react emotionally when someone challenges you, when something unfair happens, when you are disrespected? How do you respond? Because your response in that moment says more about you than almost anything else. Emotional reactions feel powerful from the inside. They feel like strength. They feel like you are refusing to be silent. But from the outside, they look like instability. They look like someone who can be triggered, someone who can be moved. And people do not respect what can be easily moved. They respect what remains steady. Do you lack consistency? Do you say one thing and do another? Do you start things and not finish them? Do you set standards and then quietly abandon them when they become inconvenient? Because inconsistency is one of the quietest destroyers of respect that exists. It tells people that your word is negotiable, that your standards are flexible, that you cannot fully be trusted. And once that feeling takes root in someone's mind, it is very difficult to uproot. These are not comfortable things to examine, but this is what it means to take your own development seriously. Not to perform self-improvement, not to announce it, but to actually look at your own behavior with clear, honest eyes and ask, is this building the kind of person others naturally respect? Or is this slowly eroding it? Because real respect begins with you, not with them, not with how they treat you, not with whether they acknowledge you. It begins with how you treat yourself. It begins with the standards you set for your own behavior. The private disciplines you maintain when no one is watching. The boundaries you hold even when it would be easier to let them go. The commitments you keep with yourself before you make them with anyone else. This is self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of all earned respect. When you genuinely respect yourself, something shifts. It is not arrogance. It is not coldness. It is a quiet, unspoken certainty. A settled quality that lives in the way you carry yourself, in the way you speak, in the way you respond, in the way you enter a room. It cannot be imitated. It cannot be faked for long. Because it does not come from performance. It comes from alignment. From the fact that who you are on the inside matches how you live on the outside. Keep your word, not just with others, with yourself. If you tell yourself you will wake up at a certain time, wake up. If you tell yourself you will finish something, finish it. If you commit to a standard, hold it. Because every time you break a promise to yourself, you are sending a message to your own mind. A message that says, my word doesn't fully mean anything. And once you believe that about yourself, it becomes impossible to project genuine confidence. Because you know, on some level, that you are negotiating with your own character. Control your emotions. Not suppress them. Control them. There is a difference. You are allowed to feel frustration. You are allowed to feel anger, pain, disappointment. But what you do with those feelings, how quickly you act on them, whether you let them dictate your behavior, that is the work. The person who can feel pressure and still respond with composure, who can be challenged and still speak calmly, who can be hurt and still act with dignity, that person carries something rare, and people feel it. Speak less. Do more. Every word you say that is not backed by action diminishes you slightly in the eyes of others. But every action you take that was not preceded by a loud announcement builds something. It builds a track record. And track records are what respect is built on. Not intentions, not explanations, not what you said you would do, what you actually did. Quietly, consistently, without needing anyone to notice. Maintain your standards, not just when it's comfortable, not just when it's easy, but especially when it costs you. When lowering them would make the moment easier, the relationship simpler, the compromise more convenient. The person who holds their standards under pressure is the person whose standards mean something. And when your standards mean something, you begin to mean something. Now consider two people. Both of them want to be respected. Both of them are aware of it. Both of them feel the absence of it in certain areas of their lives. The first person responds by talking about it. They bring it up in conversations. They correct people. They remind others of their value. They explain their credentials. They react sharply when they feel dismissed. And over time, the people around them begin to mentally associate them with that energy, with the seeking, with the needing. And slowly, quietly, without anyone saying it directly, they begin to be taken less seriously. Not because they are less capable, but because of how they relate to their own worth. They have made their self-worth visible as something that needs to be externally confirmed. And that is never attractive. The second person responds differently. They say nothing. They simply adjust. They go quiet. They get disciplined. They sharpen their behavior. They begin to show up differently, to respond differently, to hold themselves differently. They stop over-explaining and start over-delivering. They stop reacting and start responding. They stop seeking and start building. And slowly, without any announcement, the people around them begin to change. Not because they were told to, but because they feel something different. They feel a kind of steadiness, a kind of substance, a kind of quiet authority. And they naturally begin to treat that person differently. Because respect, when it comes naturally, is not a decision. It is a response. That is the difference. One person tries to extract respect from others. The other becomes the kind of person from whom respect cannot be withheld. This is not a fast process. It is not dramatic. It does not happen in one conversation, 1 week, or one decision. It happens in the accumulation of small, quiet choices, made over time, made consistently, made even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching, because character is not what you display. Character is what you default to, what you do automatically, what you choose in the small moments that no one ever sees. And when your defaults are disciplined, when your automatic response is composed, when your standard behavior is one of integrity and consistency, it radiates. People feel it before they can explain it. They trust you before they understand why. They defer to you without realizing they are doing it. That is the quiet power of earned respect. It does not announce itself. It does not demand acknowledgement. It simply exists. It is felt. It is real. It is permanent in a way that no demanded respect ever could be. The world will always have people who try to force respect through volume, through status, through reaction, through aggression. And the world will always see through it, because loudness is covering for something. Aggressiveness is protecting something. Demanding is revealing something. And what it reveals is the absence of the very thing being demanded. But the person who has genuinely done the internal work, who has built a life of discipline, consistency, emotional control, and self-respect, that person never has to ask, they never have to remind, they never have to demand, because the respect is already there, already felt, already operating in every room they enter and every interaction they have. It is not performance, it is presence. And presence cannot be argued with. So here is where this ends. And where something else must begin. Stop asking. Stop explaining. Stop trying to make people understand your worth by describing it to them. None of that works. None of it ever has. Instead, begin building. Begin with yourself. Begin in private. Begin with the small commitments, the held standards, the controlled responses, the quiet discipline that no one will applaud and no one needs to applaud. Because you are not building this for applause. You are building this for something deeper. You are building a version of yourself that is simply undeniable. And when that version of you shows up fully, when it is not a performance but a reality, when it is not what you are trying to be but what you simply are, the respect follows naturally, inevitably, without you ever asking for it again. That is the moment everything changes. Not when others finally see you, but when you finally become someone impossible not to see. Comment, I earn respect.